So we are continuing our life on the farm. So right now we are prepping for tomatoes, and we are looking to get the ground ready for that, and lettuce and onions that we will interplant. And if I'm looking off camera, it's because there's a hawk up there and I have chickens back there. And if we all know what hawks do, they like chickens. And he's a pretty good sized boy, so we may have to go up there and run his hind end off. But anyway, we are prepping this ground. So me and Tiffany just put about, let's see. Now I can tell you because I think 12, 13. We just put 15 bags of compost and manure and bedding mix into this plot. This is going to be a 4 foot by 100 foot spot. So 50 inches technically, I think, is what we're working with. So we're going to plant tomatoes here a little bit later. We're not quite tomato season yet because we're still just heading towards the end of February. And we don't get our last frost until closer to the end of April. But this will prep this bed and allow this to start rotting in the ground. And this will help us to go ahead. We're going to get some lettuce started here in this bed, and come back later with, and lettuce and onions technically, and then we're going to come back later with tomatoes. Now we'll cover this bed. We're going to put hoops on it to protect our lettuce and onions so that they'll have a better chance of making it. And the hawk's above my head now. So anyway, all right, so I'm going to get this tractor fired up. I'm going to till this row. We don't do heavy tilling, but I turned this about a week ago, almost two probably. And so now I'm going to bend this into it, and then we'll be ready to start planting here. So get the old John Deere fired up. We got to wait on our glow plug light to go out. This is a diesel, little 3-cylinder Yanmar. Got to shift into neutral too. See that little warning there? Neutral, neutral. Here's where we turn on our PTO. Drop that into the ground. Bring our RPMs up. Here we go. All right. We are done prepping that. Just took a few minutes. And Tiffany, I'll turn you around, is on the other end. If you can see her, she is down there planting lettuce and onions. We'll bring you back later and show you what we do there. All right, we are continuing our Life on the Farm series. And this is going to be a quick little show of how we, tutorial / show of how we lay out our drip irrigation. This will not be a detailed video. We'll do that in another video. But this will give you a little highlight reel. So Tiffany planted all of this yesterday. So now we gotta get drip irrigation hooked up on it. So right here is our header line. And that's the drip tape that'll hook back into it. So header line's running across through here. That's a large roll, I think 500 foot, 250 foot, something like that, that we buy. I've got it routed under the end of the greenhouse here. And then we come in here to where I have my little manifold system. So I've got to get down there and tap this in. Now this is where our water promptly throw y'all on the ground in case you couldn't figure it out. So this is where our primary water comes in until we get a better setup. That 3/4 inch water hose is bringing the water in, and this little split off is so that we can have a water hose to do the other things that we need to do around the tunnel. I've got a water shut-off valve that shuts the water off to the whole system. And this is our filter, water shut-off valve, filter. Got to keep that cleaned regularly. And then you'll see that I have shut-off valves for each irrigation system. So everything has its own shut-off valve. So this one is the shut-off valve for the tunnel that I'm in. This is our tomato tunnel. And this one is the shut-off valve that should be going that direction. I'm gonna get Tiffany to help me on that here in just a second to confirm or deny. And then we have a shut-off valve under my feet, legs, as you can see here, that is going to the lower field, which will be where some peppers will get planted this year, and so forth. And it's turned off because there's nothing down there right now. It's that time of year where we got to clean all this stuff up. All right, so here we go. I'll be right back with you. All right, everybody. So Tiffany's been watering her tunnel already this morning, so we're going to go ahead and shut off the water to that. So she's been watering her lettuce over there in the middle of the aisle. So this is the new line I just run. And we will bring it right in here. This is our valve we just disconnected the old line from. You want to get it up on there fully seated. And then we're going to turn this back out. This tightens down here and holds that in place. So, there we go. Now this is Rainbird. We have found out the Rainbird stuff's pretty good stuff. There's probably some better stuff out there, but it's readily available to us. We use quite a bit of it. And then we'll turn on our valve here. This line had some damage from shipping, so we're going to make sure we got no leaks in it. If there's no leaks, we're good to go, and we'll start hooking up the drip irrigation. Okay, Tiffany is laying out her drip line, and I'm gonna start splicing it in right here. So here we go. All right, so we're going to have a row everywhere we have plants. So I'm going to have to use this little tool, and it pokes a hole in the line, and then this pops in the line. So it literally, you just push it up against the line and you twist it until it barely pokes a hole in it. Takes a little bit of force. So since Tiffany's busy, I'll do this without you on camera. Okay, same with this. We got a shut-off valve. If it's in line, that means we got water flowing. I like to, you can buy them without shut-off valves, and we started that way, but I like having shut-off valves so that if something happens to this line, I can turn this line off and still be watering everything else. Or if I change my crops. So as you see, like I said, it just literally pops in that hole once you cut a hole in the line with that little tool. So, all right, Tiffany's got us another one stretched out, so I got to get it done. So Tiffany, love your hairdo.
I know.
The windblown look, ain't it?
Yeah.
So let's talk about drip irrigation, Tiffany. Since we're putting some down, we've got a little bit of this on our farm life video. How important is our drip irrigation?
Extraordinarily.
Have a lot less crop failures with drip irrigation, don't we?
Yep.
And that's because we're able to saturate them into the ground and keep them wet. We would never be able to water all this by hand, could we?
Nope.
And if we used overhead sprinklers, we would use probably, I don't know the number, we'll say 6 times as much, if not 10 times as much water.
A whole lot more.
So We also do something else to make things better. We don't like using lots of plastic, and we sure don't like single-use plastic. So the header lines that I showed you just now, the round line that's about big as your thumb, those can be used from year to year to year unless you run over them with the tractor or with the tiller or the plow or something like that, and tear them up, which is what happened over here. That line got buried in the grass, and when I did my tilling, apparently I caught it and destroyed it. Tried to watch it, but it didn't work. So we're laying a new one. But we also reuse our drip lines, don't we? A lot of people throw those in the garbage.
Yep. We usually get 2 to 4 seasons out of a 1-year drip line.
Yep. And if we hook it up and it leaks, what do, Tiff?
We splice it.
That's what this is. And you might say, well, that's another piece of plastic. But this is a piece of plastic that I can probably get 10 to 30 years out of. Matter of fact, we've never had a piece of the splice ever go bad, have we?
Nope.
We've had one emitter, the shutoff valve, go bad, but I think it probably got run over by the tractor and broke, more than likely. So we had one of those go bad. But this right here is a little bit of an investment, so we usually keep 20 of them around. Right now we got 100 of them. We bought a whole bag, probably got one used out of it, and so that'll do us for years. And so like right now, we're going to go show you where we got these lines that we just hooked up. We've got one line that's a little bit short for where it's going, so Tiffany's going to get another short piece off of a line, and we're going to splice it in. But we've also got a couple of leaks. Well, those leaks are easy enough fixed. We put this in it, and then we're able to get another year out of that, ain't we?
Mm-hmm.
I know you're looking at Charlie because he
caught
something.
Yeah.
Our resident hunter either got a mouse, a vole, a bird, or something. But he is our resident hunter. If it moves, it's fair game. So, show you. So you can see we got a leak. Trying to get you on it. It's hard to look through the camera and get you on it right there. So we got a leak right there. So we'll cut that line right there and splice it. I'm gonna get over there where I'm on it, and then Tiffany will go to the other end and shut it off so that I can splice it right there. So quick, easy fix. That literally took about 15 seconds to do. So now we're going to follow this down. We got another one on the second line down here, and when I get down here to it, then Tiffany is going to shut it off so that we can fix it. See our leak? So we're getting ready to fix it right there. So Tiffany's going to shut it off, and I'm going to splice it. So I'll simply come in here with my knife and cut about 3/4 of an inch to an inch out of this. See right there where she's leaking? And then I'll put my splice in. Splice works the same way as that other valve works I showed you. You put it in and then shove the line up on it and tighten it down. So Tiffany's going to turn it back on. We're going to see if we got that one fixed. Did you turn it on?
Yep.
That took a minute. So now this one we won't splice because this hose wasn't long enough, the line, so she's going to splice a piece into it. Okay, so there's where we extended a couple of lines. And there's our splices. Bed's laid out. It's getting sun. It's getting water. So we have onions up here. These are bunching onions. So drip irrigation, as you can see, you can put the water where you need it, which is right in the middle of the row, and not put it everywhere else. And it'll saturate all of that. And if you want, you can plant right on each emitter. But that's not what we wanted to do, so that's not what we did. Always double check, make sure they're all on, and they are. And then of course we've already looked and made sure they were all dripping. Time for next farm chore. So Tiffany is operating our pyro weeder. This is a flame weeder on wheels. Got one propane tank that straps to it. They make some newer ones that have 2 propane tanks. They make bigger ones, but this one really is ideal for us because we generally use 3 to 4 foot wide beds. So now what this flame weeder is doing is all the small weeds. This is not going to kill the grass on this plot. We will have to work that during the year. If we continued to till this and flame weed it, it would happen. But we plan on leaving walkways in this. This is going to be a strawberry plot. And so it'll have walkways in it. But this right here will help get rid of a lot of those weeds, the young weeds and what we would call thread stage also. But this will scorch them, and when it scorches them, they can't convert the sunlight into nutrients. So as soon as she gets done with this, we're getting ready to start spreading rolls of that to make this raised, because this area tends to stay a little bit wet. So we're going to raise these beds up a little bit, and that way we can get it up out of the water for better drainage, and strawberries will work better generally on a mound. So that's where we're going and what we're getting ready to do. Well, sun's starting to drop, starting to get a little bit of shade here on this plot. We're getting close to the end of this day. We're experimenting here. We don't know if this will work, but we're willing to put the effort into it. This plot we're on here tends to not drain well because it sits close to the creek over here. And we've got a blessing of a natural spring-fed creek. It's actually fed by 3 different springs. And it never runs dry. It's never been dry since we've been here. It got low one time during a drought, but not dry by no means. The upside to that is obviously continuous water supply. Great for growing crops or whatever you need. Feeding watering your animals. We had horses at one point. Didn't have to get the horses fresh water. They had fresh water. So it was a blessing. So the downside to that is any of this land laying close to the creek is poor draining. The water table is high and it stays saturated after a rain a long time. Anywhere from, depending on how heavy the rain is and what time of year, anywhere from a day to 2 weeks sometimes if it rains enough. So we're doing strawberries over here, and we're going to do them on a raised bed system. So we're attempting to raise this ground, and I got a few ideas in my head of what I'm going to do, and if you've got some better ideas, let me know. I don't want to leave this land setting vacant for nothing. We need to use it in our rotation. And like I said, right now we're going to try strawberries here. Big investment going into them. Not as big as some of y'all. Some of y'all are gardening on a whole lot larger scale than we are. We're going to be putting about 1,000 strawberries in the ground here. And these are ever bearing. So they're not your typical June bearing that produce once a year. These will produce all year long for us. A lot of people keep them in the ground for just 1 year. Our plans are 3. We're going to leave these in the ground for 3 years. We're going to let the daughter plants root. We're leaving room for that. It'll make for a smaller harvest this year, but that smaller harvest will make for us not having to buy and plant the new plants next year is the game plan. It's just what we want to do. We like to be a little bit more sustainable. And then we're probably, if we got time on that 3rd year, we're probably going to take the daughter plants off of them that year and plant out a new patch of strawberries. And then this will be turned under. At that point, we will do away with this and it will become something else. Now, when I say turned under, if these raised beds work out, I won't use a tiller in this. This will probably become a no-till plot. And we'll just continue to build on these beds and try to raise this up. So my idea is that I'm running, the creek runs this way, and I'm running my beds this way. So the water can flow through, that comes up here on the hill, not a lot, but some, it can flow through, and the raised mounds will do better drainage. We've used our Daddy Pete's nursery blend at the base, and that's not a really high nutrient thing. It does have cow manure in it and some stuff like that, but it's more bark. So we're using that as the base, and then we're going over that with cow manure and raised bed mix on top of that. And the cow manure and raised bed mix will bring in a little more soil type material. And then we're going down the aisles with our soil enhancer. You could use a mulch, but I happen to have a pallet of soil enhancer that didn't get used last year. So this is a perfect spot for it. I hear Tiffany and Daniel coming in the gator, and I'm gonna turn you around and show you what we're doing. So here's where we've made it so far. This is the plot we're doing. And it is, like I said, just adjacent to the creek. And as you can see, that creek is flowing with quite a bit of water. It usually floods at least once a year, but usually not that much. It usually this creek gets about 25 feet wide once a year, which will keep it out of this. Now last year that was an exception. We had a whole lot more than 25 feet of water here. So we're trying to make this more sustainable. The eventual plan is that where I've got the soil enhancer here in the middle, that's what this is, we will build that up and we'll plant a cover crop into it after a year. We'll put something on top of it where it can grow so we can help to control erosion. And then this is the medium that Tiffany is getting ready to plant into. It's a raised bed mix. She'll pat that in so that it doesn't just flow down the sides. And there's Tiffany with our strawberry starts that are already trying to get a head start right now. And there's Daniel.
Hello.
All right, guys, I've got more work to do. They're getting ready to get going on this, and I got to go get going on the other stuff. So y'all have a good evening.